Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. So today I want to look at the Apple event that just happened just an hour ago. And some of you guys weren't able to watch it, so I want to report on it a little bit. But what I want to do is kind of boil it down for photographers. So if you're an amateur, a pro-am, or a professional, does the new offerings like the iPhone 7 have something for you? Is it going to be of interest to you to go and put out that hard-earned cash to go and pick up? So before I get into that, let me just tell you guys some of the stuff that they talked about. Number one, they got into Apple Music and they said how there was like 17 million subscribers and 30 million songs out there, for you to download. And yes, we know Apple makes money on music. That's not their biggest seller, but that's kind of where they started when it comes to this stuff. They basically put Napster out of business because they made it so affordable for you to get music for like $1 or even less, right? But anyways, music has always been big, and just those numbers alone, 30 million songs that you guys can download. I mean, that's a lot. Apple's just doing it right, and they always have been in the music realm. But where they're making a lot of money is in their store, right? Their apps. They're talking about 140 billion downloads so far of apps. So if you're a professional photographer or even a business owner, if you have an app, that's a good thing, right? Because apps are just still huge, right? People are downloading apps all the time. Even if you have a free app and you bring people in the door, it's still awesome, right? Apps are absolutely big. Now, the big thing that happened with the App Store was that the Japanese company Nintendo is now on board. You can now have Mario Brothers, it's called Mario Brothers Run, I believe, on your iPhone. That's craziness, right? And then they have a new one called, I think it's called Mushroom Kingdom, that they're coming out with that looks also very interesting, once again by Nintendo. So I'm sure Apple is very, very happy about having Nintendo on board. Anyways, moving on, Apple Watch. Now, we know the Series 1 went over really big. It's like the second largest watch like in the market, only second to, I think, Rolex, I believe the figure was. That's just unbelievable considering it's only been out for, less than a year or a year. So, but this new version, the Series 2 that just came out, they had this, they talked about it and how it's twice as fast. It has a twice as fast GPU for graphics. It's doing up to like 60 frames per second on a watch, which is crazy. They doubled basically everything. It's got the stronger processor. I think it has dual processors now in this watch, and it is now waterproof, let's call it, or water resistant. I'm not sure how they deem it, but you can swim with this watch now, and it goes down to 50 meters. That's 150 feet. That's a lot. That's pretty deep. And they were talking about like how they did it, and well, they know they have to have a speaker, right? And it's outward facing. Well, they redesigned the speaker completely to actually use the vibrations of the sound coming out of that speaker to force the water out of the speaker hole after it comes out of the water. See, this is the kind of stuff that Apple does that's just revolutionary, just like cool stuff. Like, how do you come up with that, right? So Series 1, the old one goes down to $269. The new one comes out at $369. I think a lot of people are going to pick up the new watch. It definitely has a ton of improvements. I think it's Watch OS 3. It also now does Pokemon Go. They actually had the guys from Pokemon Go there. I don't know. I would say they didn't do a good job, showing the Pokemon Go, but regardless, it's now on the watch. You can do your Pokemon on your watch. So that's kind of cool. But into the iPhone. Now, this is kind of like where we want to be as photographers, and everyone has an iPhone at this point, right? It's just the platform is so big. It's the #1 phone on the market, and I think it might even be the #1 camera like out there. It's just craziness. And now they have a new A10 processor. It's called the Fusion chip. It's 64-bit, which is just crazy, and they basically doubled everything. So if you go from the A9 chipset, you doubled the GPU, your graphics, and you doubled your actual main processor also. If you go then take a look at it in comparison to the A8, which is the chip just before that, you're talking about 3 times the speed. So this thing is quick. It's really, really quick. I think it has like 6 cores on that thing. It's just nuts how they do it in such a small area. But it's now water resistant. They call it what is it, IP67 certified or standard certification. So what that means is now when you drop your phone into the toilet, you can actually pull it out and dry it off and you're okay. Now that doesn't mean that you're gonna be swimming with your phone. It's not gonna happen. But in case of getting a little bit wet, dropping it in the pool for a second and pulling it out, you should be okay. They took out the headphone jack, and that's probably one of the things that helps it with this IP67 certification too, because now you have one less port that's pointing outwards, right? That can possibly get water into the phone, right? So now you have to use your lightning cable for your headphones. So now you guys are thinking, well, what the hell do I do with all of my headphones that I currently have, right? That's just craziness. Well, you're gonna have to get new ones. Or Apple, as they always do, will be happy to sell you a dongle, right? Like they always do, $30 dongle here, $30 dongle there. Everything is dongles, right? Now, companies like Beats, they already have a headset that's, I think it's called the Solo 3, that is going to be available as soon as the phone comes out, which is kind of cool. And once again, it's going to be running off this W1 chip that they're currently using, which supposedly gives you like 5 hours of power with these wireless earbuds. But once again, we're moving away from standardization. Now if you have headphones or whatever you have to buy new, or you have to buy their dongle. So, it's the pain of moving forward. And they even talked about that during the event. It's the courage to be able to move into the next generation thing instead of staying with all of this legacy type of equipment. Now, cameras, right? This is where us photographers really want to know, like, what the heck? The camera is better, okay? Number one. The processor is better, so it can do a lot of the processing on the back end. Now, the camera itself on the rear side, rear facing, is 12 megapixels. It's I think it's an f1.8. So it's a fast piece of glass, let's call it, on the back. So it's getting a ton of light in there. It's a 6-element lens, which is really cool for bokeh. So you get like a nice blur in the background. You don't have any kind of stutter stepping, which is nice. The same sapphire crystal. The one thing which is like the big story here is the gamut. They're talking wide gamut. Every time they talked about a game, they talked about wide gamut. They talk about the video, it's wide gamut. They talk about photo, wide gamut. So instead of like an sRGB, you're probably going to be more into this pro-rgb spectrum, right? The thing of the matter is when you take a picture and you're looking at it on your phone and you have this extra gamut, this wider gamut, right? This incredible color. You got to understand too, if you go and print it, the printers, most of the printers out there, 90% of the printers out there are printing sRGB. So you're going to lose a lot of that data. So what you see is not necessarily what you're going to get when you print it. So that's something that you have to be aware of. Now, on the iPhone 7 Plus, okay, the monster, right? Let's call it the iPad mini. It's just huge. Like, I could not use that phone, but it's cool nonetheless. They gave you now 2 cameras on the back. So what that does is now you have one lens that's shooting at 28 millimeters, and you have another lens, another camera, capturing at 56 millimeters. You'll be able to zoom in twice as far before you have to start digitally zooming. That's optical zoom at double the zoom length. That's pretty cool. That is really cool from a phone, right? One of the things that they talked about was this new bokeh feature, and allowing you to take a picture of a portrait, and now everything behind, let's say, the eye or the ear just go to this milky beauty, right? And how they're doing that is they're taking the 2 cameras, right, judging the distance and seeing where that prime subject ends, and then from there back, blurring it, softening it, right? They showed some images of this in action, and it really looks good. I mean, it looks like it was taken with a professional camera. So very, very neat. I really like what they're doing. The problem with this is, guys, to get that functionality of the two cameras, you have to get the 7 Plus. And not everyone is going to want a phone that big. So is it worth getting the iPhone 7 and not the 7 Plus with just the way it comes? I personally think yes. And the reason being is I really like what they're doing with video. Now with video, obviously it's capturing 4K. It's capturing at 30 frames per second. No slow-mo. Then again, Canon 5D Mark IV didn't give you slow-mo either on 4K, but that's a whole nother story. That's another video you can go watch. But as far as 1080p, they are giving you slow-mo up to 120 frames per second. I love that. So HD, you're going to be able to do slow-mo. And then if you shoot at 720p, you're going to be able to go all the way up to 240 frames per second for ultra slow-mo. That's really cool. Once again, you're going to get this awesome wide gamut, number one. Number two, the flash is much better. I think it's they have 4 LEDs now in this flash. They call it a quad LED flash with this skin tone optimization, let's say. So you get really good skin tone. And they also have an optical stabilization in it too. So when you're capturing your video, you're not getting all that bumping and shaking. 4K will allow you to capture a 8 megapixel image right from your 4K video. That's really cool. I like it. Also, Apple is saying that we're going to have the ability to modify DNG files. So instead of having a JPEG, we're going to have the option of modifying a DNG image. What that is, as most of photographers know, that is a digital raw image. If you're a Canon guy, you know it'd be a CR2 file, right? But DNG is the de facto, let's call it Adobe raw file format. And now, according to Apple, the iPhone 7 is going to be able to produce this. That's really cool, guys. That means that we're going to be able to make modifications to the files, but on a raw level, adjusting contrast, color, and everything else. As far as the front-facing camera, it's 7 megapixels. I think it's an f2.2 lens on it, and you're going to be able to capture now 1080p, which is cool, right? HD on the front-facing camera. So all in all, do I like it? I do. But just keep in mind, if you want all of the extra features that you get when you have your second camera, you have to go with the Plus. Is the standard iPhone 7, as far as how it is right now, worth it? To me, I think it is. Anyways, guys, I hope some of this information was helpful to you guys. This is literally only an hour old. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to head over to my store over at JCristina.com. I got a lot of photography products I've invented, and some of them might be good for you. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll get my content immediately when it comes out. So that's it, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.